escape from a Separatist prison. Carrying information about secret routes into the heart of the Republic and Separatist homeworlds, Jedi Master Evan Peel was captured and imprisoned in a fortress known as the Citadel. Leading an elite strike team, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker rescued Master Peel and his officers. Now the Jedi have split up to evade Separatist forces as they attempt to escape the Citadel.
Greetings once again, Bucketheads. Mavar Tigar. Welcome to the 123rd Citadel Escaping episode of Mando Vision. Nargai Tom, and thank you so much for joining us for... Good Lord. Thank you so much for checking out the small independent Star Wars podcast. We're so glad you're here. The best way to reach out to us is, of course, social media, at Mando_Vision, Twitter and Instagram. Email the show, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. And please be sure to like, subscribe, and share this show with all the other Mandalorians in your covert. How's everyone doing? Hope you've had another nice weekend. If you're on the East Coast, I hope it's not too frigid and freezing and snowy and cold. I can't say the same is going on out here, but that's okay. That's okay. Just hope everyone's doing well. We're here to talk about more Star Wars stuff. We're here to get back into Star Wars, the Clone Wars rewatch Mondays. And, we're just having a good time being Star Wars fans right now. We're riding the highs of the Book of Boba Fett, and it's interesting. I think I've made a similar comment in the past during the run of the Mandalorian. And it seemed like for a while that with the Mandalorian, people with social media feeds were at least attempting to give people a little bit of time to watch the shows before they started posting spoilery kind of pictures from that week's episode. Now, I've sort of wondered if maybe because The Mandalorian was coming out on Fridays, that like a simple weekend moratorium was a lot easier for people to manage. It's like, oh, well, The Mandalorian came out on Friday. I can wait till Monday to post something again. But now with the Book of Boba Fett coming out on Wednesdays, it doesn't seem like that is the case at all, and I've been rather surprised by the amount of spoiler may be a strong word, but if you don't want to see something from the episode, like if your schedule is such that you can't watch the show until like Wednesday evening or possibly Thursday because maybe you have like a crazy job situation or you're just busy and you don't have time to appreciate the way you want to. It's got to be a little disheartening to know that you can't go on social media right now, especially if you follow a lot of different Star Wars pages. It bums me out. I was really surprised by the amount of images I see popping up as early as Thursday morning. And gosh, actually, I think even Wednesday evening, I had seen a bunch of stuff from that day's episode come out. I just was like, again, maybe spoilers not the right word. It's not like the reveal of Baby Yoda, we're not talking like that level. But again, if you don't want to see something, you basically just have to put your phone down. You can't go on anything because people are just posting too quickly, and that really bums me out. I can assure anyone listening to this podcast that is not the way in which we do things over here. We wait at least through the weekend, which means with the Book of Boba Fett, We're waiting even longer than we did with The Mandalorian. And again, I've actually shied away from even posting anything, just because I do have friends that I know who can't watch it as quickly as I can. You know, some friends who have kids, they wait until for it to be like Friday nights. Like they're a big Friday night thing is to watch Boba Fett and Star Wars and all that stuff. And so it just, you know, whatever. It just made more sense to like, hey, watch the show. You want the spoilers? Come to the podcast. We'll have all the spoilers here for you. We'll talk all about it in depth. So just sort of my comment, my observation on some of the stuff I've been seeing. That's just strange. I don't know how you all feel about it. I mean, again, if you're listening to this podcast, odds are you're watching the Boba Fett like the day of, right? So I don't know. I'm just sort of rambling at this point. All right. Well, listen. Let's talk about our episode. We're here. We are in the middle of the Citadel trilogy in Star Wars: The Clone Wars from season 3, and this is a fairly significant episode here in the middle chapter. Lots of stuff going on. Lots of things happening here. It's even sort of I don't know. It's gonna be a lot to process. We got lots of things to kind of hit on. A lot of things to talk about with this episode. This is Counterattack, Season 3, Episode 19. Original air date was March 4th, 2011. Our plot for this week: the Jedi and their troops have split up to safeguard the vital information, but find that getting out of the Citadel is even harder than getting in. And that makes a ton of sense, doesn't it? Our director for this week's episode is Brian O'Connell, with the episode again being written by Matt Mishnovitz. Our main cast: James Arnold Taylor is Obi-Wan Kenobi, Aussie Sobek, Plo Koon, Matt Lanter is Anakin Skywalker, Matthew Woods is the battle droids and the commando droids, Ashley Eckstein is Ahsoka Tano, and K2B4, Stephen Stanton is Tarkin, D. Bradley Baker is the Clone Troopers, Blair Bess as Evan Peel, Tom Kane is the narrator, Corey Burton is Count Dooku, Terrence T.C. Carson is Mace Windu. Our Jedi Fortune Cookie for this week: anything that can go wrong will, and boy does it in this one. Just a listen, the Citadel is a fortification that is near impregnable. They got in, getting out even harder, because again, they talked about it in that first part, how it was sort of designed to be like a prison for Jedi. You know, Jedi who go to the dark. You know, it was supposed to be able to contain and hold powerful beings, and make it so that it was unescapable. And we'll talk about it. We'll get to the part of it in the episode where Tarkin really admires the construction of the building and the difficulty of escaping it. And that doesn't go well for Ahsoka. Ahsoka's not a fan of that at all. But you know, we know Tarkin. Tarkin is he's a man with a plan. He's got a grand vision, and he sees the Citadel as being something, a resource he could use. And you know, very, very interesting stuff. Let's go ahead. Let's get into this week's episode. Again, this is Counterattack, Season 3, Episode 19 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. So it's that time. Strap on your buckets. Let's go.
An incursion team attempted a rescue, but the situation is taken care of.
Are you in possession of the information the prisoner is carrying?
Not yet, but we will soon have it.
You are aware that this information will tip the scale of the war to the side that controls it. Perhaps this is a matter that requires my presence.
No, my lord.
Find them, Commander. Get the information. Then kill them all.
So there you heard it. That's Count Dooku and Aussie Sobek talking about the situation, and Dooku once again threatening his subordinates. What happens next, I also really, really enjoy, as Aussie Sobek goes to threaten one of his subordinates, who happens to be a droid, but that does not stop Aussie Sobek from choking this droid out and making threats. So let's go ahead and listen to that real quick.
Don't ever surprise me with a transmission from Count Dooku. I need time to prepare.
Yes, Commander.
And again, that's a little hard to see. Yeah, obviously, it's hard to see if you're not watching the show. But Sobek grabs that droid by the throat and picks it up and throws it up against the wall. Pretty wild stuff. That Sobek guy. I don't think he realizes that droids don't breathe. And that's maybe not as threatening as he may have thought it to be. But yeah, this episode gets up to some really crazy shenanigans. We have our two teams, Anakin, Ahsoka, and Tarkin. They're in the tunnels. You got Obi-Wan, Master Peel in the docks of the Citadel. And that's when they encounter a probe droid. And well, actually, before we talk about the probe droid, we should also mention that R2 is headed up the escape part of this plan, right? He's got his 3 battle droids that he's in command of, the ones that have been have that painted blue on them, so that's more like R2's team, right? So that's pretty fun. And okay, so then this is when Master Peel's team encounters a probe droid, and we get to see Master Peel kind of spring into action. He's got that smaller frame, and he like, just bounces like a I don't know, like a crazy bouncy thing, just up into the shaft there, the maintenance shaft in which they're hiding, to take a swipe at that probe droid before he can get away. Does he get it all? We're not quite sure. But then all of a sudden the security doors start closing in, and what happens next? A clone trooper gets cut in half in this episode. Woo! You do not want to be a clone trooper in this episode. It does not go well for you in many, many levels. And, that's one element that we haven't talked about too much from this season, is sort of like the escalation of... I say the escalation of violence, but I do not mean that in sort of a... in the negative. Like, oh, the violence in the show appalls me. No. It just seems that... the show is sort of settled in, and when we're telling stories of the war, we're also seeing the cost of the war, and a lot more clone troopers are paying the price for being engaged in this conflict, and we see that especially in this episode. That poor clone trooper just cut in half. It made me think of it's kind of a Star Wars thing, right? Like getting cut in half, losing limbs. One of those kind of recurring themes. And yeah, I don't know. It's just, again, you see that throughout the remainder of these 2 episodes with the Citadel. If you're, especially there's a moment in the 3rd episode where you're just like, ow, that is not a good way to go. Not a good way. Not that getting cut in half is any better, but holy smokes. All right, let's talk about our good friend, our good friend Moff Tarkin. We talked a little bit about it. His admiration for the Citadel. And he's going to share this appreciation with Ahsoka Tano, who does not share these sentiments. And it's, I don't know. Again, there's a certain element to this conversation that is, again, it shows a lot of what Tarkin's internal thoughts on the Jedi are. And Anakin's aware of that too, and they kind of get to that later. I can't remember if it's in this episode or if it's in the next episode. But, well, I'll go through my notes and find out. But, yeah, we start to see the beginning of Anakin and Tarkin as sort of comrades, right? Comrades in arms. Similar outlooks on how to handle the war, how to win the war. And a lot of that begins to take shape in these Citadel episodes where they're first introduced to each other. So let's listen to Tarkin explain to Ahsoka why the Citadel is so impressive.
I am beginning to admire the design of this fortress. It's rather formidable to evade.
How can you admire such a horrible place?
Ah, you reveal your short-sightedness. This ordeal only demonstrates how effective facilities like the Citadel are. Pity it ended up in separatist hands, and not ours.
He has a point.
Meanwhile, back on Coruscant, Jedi Masters Mace Windu, Yoda, and Plo Koon, and Sassy Tiin are meeting up to discuss their monitoring situation. They've received a communique about the 2 teams, where their extraction points are, and what the plan is going to be. The question is then asked, what happens if things do not go according to plan? And that's when we're given the information that will come in handy down the road, that if their plans for extraction, if Obi-Wan and Anakin's extraction plans do not work out, the Jedi are going to have to send in a fleet to get them out of there, because that's how fortified, that's how dug in the Separatists are at the Citadel and on the planet there, which the Citadel is located. And again, that a bit of foreshadowing going on there. Real quick, I do have to talk about one thing. Aussie Sobek's droid. We didn't talk about it in the last episode, but I really meant to. I really meant to, and I got to mention it in this episode. The purple and gold Lakers colored droids in this episode. I don't know why that rings so funny to me. It just feels like, oh, somebody on the show is a big Lakers fan, and they wanted to sneak in some droid colors. I mean, you have so many mixed colors, so many color palettes on the droids, on different units, on different clone units. and stuff like that. So like, why not start working in your favorite sports team's colors as well? So yeah, the Lakers colors amuse me quite a bit in this one. At this point, we're gonna go back to we're gonna catch back up with Ahsoka and her squad. We find out that Tarkin's not really enjoying being led by a Padawan, a child, in his words. Anakin's peeled off to take up the flank at this point. So Tarkin's having this conversation with Rex, and Rex is like, "Hey, she's a good kid. I trust her. We've been on a lot of battles together." And Tarkin seems to take that information with a lot of salt. A lot of salt. He does not seem to see it. He doesn't seem to have the same respect for the Jedi that many of the others do. And again, that will be talked about, and we will talk about it here on this episode of the show. Ahsoka then reveals herself a little bit here as well, because she doesn't seem to know what the plan is, right? They come around the corner, and it's a dead end, and that's how she perceives it, and she thinks this is it. When Anakin returns after cutting up some more droids, he says, "Hey, well, if you're really part of the plan, if Master Plo sent you here, why don't you know to blow up the wall, that it's, hollow, and on the other side is our escape route?" So Ahsoka's sort of put into a position here, again, of crashing this mission because she wanted to go, and that was that, and she made up her mind she was going to make it happen, and she's kind of been deceitful about it, right? She lied. She said, "Master Plo put me on this," and this continues to take shape over the course of the remaining 2 episodes. But Ahsoka does show her value in here. Even though she's made a mistake here, she springs into action. She plants the detonators to blow the wall up, and then she uses 2 more thermal detonators to blow up the commando droids that are pinning down her team. So, again, she's showing her value, but that sort of defiant streak in Ahsoka that she's learning from Anakin, really coming into play here in this episode in the Citadel arc. So now R2's team, his team of droids, they're going to be in the shuttle. They're going to the landing platform where they're supposed to pick up Obi-Wan's team. Now, we talked about it on last week's episode. Sort of like the sort of the innate flaw in this trilogy is sort of this part of the plan, right? Like, they get permission to land at the Citadel, and they don't. They stop short so they can drop off the team. And now, after a big amount of time has passed, since being granted permission and them finally landing, they're calling attention to themselves, right? Like, this isn't covert. There's nothing covert about this. If you're gonna do this sort of plan, like, I don't think you just get to park there on the shuttle bay or the shuttle pad and wait for Obi-Wan to show up. Like, Obi-Wan needs to be there. It needs to be quick. There needs to be speed here. So when they find the purple Laker droid waiting for them and calling R2-D2 a traitor, because it's like, what do you know? You're overdue. You were expected to arrive here. And then again, the way this all kind of takes place, it's like it's an unfortunate aspect of the plan, right? Now, again, it's a TV show. I understand you want different moments of tension. You got to have the plan not work. Your Jedi fortune cookie, anything that can go wrong will. I mean, that comes into play here, right? The strategy droid is well aware of what's going on and has linked the ship and the insurgents together, right? The infiltration team together, and again, like, the conclusions are obvious. So it's not a great plan. It's relying on the stupidity of others, and that doesn't work in this case. And what happens is a really big battle with a really big consequence, and we're going to talk about it in a second after we play this little snippet of Obi-Wan and Ossie Sobek getting into it with each other, as Ossie showing himself to be quite the strategist, because he will use the shuttle as bait to lure the Jedi and the clone troopers out so that they can be recaptured. Check it out.
Anakin, I must commend you on your escape tactics. But in the end, it was easy to predict your every move.
So Anakin seems moving forward with their plan. They're into that tunnel, the maintenance tunnel. He tells the clone troopers that they have to lock down their weapons. The slightest electronic spark could ignite the entire tunnel, And Tarkin asks Anakin the question, like, well, make sure to tell the droids that, or has anyone told the droids that? Because he, very dangerous. But let's go back to Obi-Wan's capture. Obi-Wan Master Peel captured, and they're meeting with Ozzy Sobek. Let's check this one out.
Welcome back. I must say, you're not at all what I pictured. Someone with such a soft voice. I want your half of the information. Give it to me now, or I'll start executing your men.
This is war, Sobek. We're all prepared to die to protect that intel.
Really?
Sir, we have located the other group.
All right, so we'll pause it there because, yes, that was what you heard. That was Sobek executing a clone trooper right in the face with a blaster. And again, if you're a clone trooper, these 3 episodes are not kind to you, and it doesn't get any better as the episode shakes out. So from that moment, this is when R2's team will spring into action, and they're able to recover Obi-Wan's team, get them free so they can attempt another escape from the Citadel. Meanwhile, we're going to go back into the tunnels now with Anakin and Tarkin having a bit of a conversation that I thought was worth sharing with you guys. So check it out here.
How much longer are we going to wander through this tunnel in the dark?
Captain Tarkin, haven't you learned to trust me by now?
You may have earned my trust, General Skywalker, but my faith in your comrades is still lacking.
You lack faith in the Jedi.
I find their tactics ineffective. The Jedi Code prevents them from going far enough to achieve victory, to do whatever it takes to win. The very reason why peacekeepers should not be leading a war. Have I offended you?
No. I've also found that we sometimes fall short of victory because of our methods.
Well, I see we agree on something.
So very interesting stuff right there. And it makes me ask myself, I begin to wonder, and it's one of those things I wish we had gotten to see more of, whether through flashbacks or more stuff between them during the Clone Wars series or in a book or whatever. I really would have loved to have seen more of the way that Chancellor Palpatine has sort of influenced Anakin throughout his developmental period, right? Like you do have to sort of wonder, like, when did Anakin get to like this way of thinking, this train of thought, or has it always been that way? But I suspect that there has to have been like some fires of doubt stoked by Chancellor Palpatine, right? We've seen enough hints of that in the films and in the series to show that like Chancellor Palpatine does have a fair amount of influence over the way Anakin thinks about certain things. So I would have liked to have seen that more fully in some level, and I still would if Disney Press and Lucasfilm, if they wanted to do a book that kind of chronicled more of a young Anakin, growing up under the influence of Chancellor Palpatine. I mean, that would be to me, I think that'd be really fascinating stuff, because Anakin does think, and again, this could be Anakin's own train of thought, but we know the machinations of Palpatine, right? So we have to consider it. There are plenty of other Jedis that we have seen in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, in some of the expanded universe books. Maybe it's not all canon anymore, but there were plenty of Jedi who doubted this war, who doubted the Jedi's role in this war, and that's always been a fun element to me. The Jedi just didn't go. Not every single Jedi went along with him, became a general in the Grand Army of the Republic. No. There was much discussion and disagreement between Jedis about what to do with the Clone Wars. And again, I mentioned it's sort of interesting timing because a lot of that's coming up again as I'm reading the Star Wars High Republic books. It's a very different sort of engagement, but there's a lot of talk in the books, particularly the Out of the Shadows from Justina Ireland, where they're talking about the Jedi's role in a Republic-led war, and how as peacekeepers they should not be involved. That's a matter between the politicians and the governing bodies. The Jedi should not be holding hands with the Republic in those sort of situations. So it's interesting to see, looking back, those are like 150, 200 years before these events. So it's interesting to see how the Jedi and the Republic were then and how they've changed and become more blended together by the time of the fall of the Republic here in the Clone Wars. So just, again, a little bit more food for thought if you're, and I'm sure you're seeing the same things if you're reading the High Republic novels. They definitely are, they do a little bit of a, I don't know if it's foreshadowing, but they definitely start to highlight and underscore the flaws in the Jedi thinking at the time of the Clone Wars. So interesting stuff there. All right, so now we enter the big action-packed finale of the episode, basically. Anakin's team, as they come out of the tunnel under fire, they manage to escape that, and it's time to meet up backup plan, right? Because there's going to be no extraction point because there's no shuttle there, right? So they got to go fall back to Obi-Wan's position so they can be extracted together. So that's exactly what happens. The two teams come back together. They're under heavy fire as Sobek's forces are closing in around them to make sure they can't escape. And let's go ahead and check in as the leaders, the various men of power in this scenario have a bit of a conversation about what to do next. And let's see that none of them really agree and see eye to eye. Big surprise.
Sorry I'm late.
How nice of you to join us.
The ship is surrounded.
We need to launch a full forward assault and take that vessel.
We may have a bigger problem. Those turrets. If we don't take them out, they will use them to destroy the shuttle and prevent our escape.
Which is precisely why we should get aboard that shuttle and use the weapon systems to decimate those droids.
Whatever we're gonna do, we better do it fast.
So it gets crazy from here. We got all kinds of stuff. We got battle droids arriving on stapes, on the little stapes. Anakin jumping on board, grabbing one. You got ground to air combat, air to air combat. Everything's happening all around him. The battle is in full swing. It's just crazy nonstop stuff, right? Then you get a commando droid. He's going to take control of the turret. Time to blow up the shuttle, right? Can't let the Jedi escape. And the clones making a heroic play and a pivotal moment for something that will pay out down the road. So let's go ahead and listen to this sequence because I had actually forgotten this was the episode in which this happened. So yeah, I'm just going to play it and we're going to talk about it. But here it goes.
This is our only chance. We've got to stop him. Echo, look out! Echo!
We have to go now.
Oh, and there it is. The death of Echo. Supposedly. Okay, yeah, we know not really. Echo will make his triumphant return in Season 7. But a fairly big moment in the show for a clone that we've spent so much time with through the course of these 3 seasons thus far. And yeah, and this was like the big turning point episode for him. As he goes to make the play, he wants to make the hero move. He sees an opportunity, but that commando droid blasts him real good. Destroys the shuttle, destroys him. The explosion does kill the commando droid in the turret, allowing his comrades, Echo's comrades, to escape. But it is a significant loss. And again, this isn't one of the rando clones that accompanies the teams. Like this is a clone that we know, that we've seen grow up. We saw him coming out of Camino. We saw him become an ARC trooper. This one stings. This one's a big blow to the squad, and it is a loss that will be felt through the seasons, right? As we spend more time with the clone troopers moving forward. Echo's loss it resonates. And I didn't mean to do that, but I did. So let's go ahead. Let's check back in with the Jedi Masters at the temple to see what their next move is here.
Master Kenobi, what has happened?
I'm afraid we've had a situation with the shuttle.
By situation, he means big explosion. We're gonna need a rescue.
It will be done. I'm sending our cruisers now.
All right, so that's kind of sort of where we end up. But let's go ahead and check in with our heroes as they have to hold up and wait for the rescue to come. And they know it's not going to be easy, so let's check it out.
This landscape is almost impossible to cross. How are we going to get to the rendezvous point?
That is the trap of the citadel. It was designed so it would be almost impossible for fugitives to get off the surface, even if they escape the tower.
How lucky we're not just any fugitives.
I hope you're right.
Alright, that's where we end the second installment of the Citadel trilogy. Yeah, big loss here, big craziness. It's just wild, right? And again, I had sort of forgotten this was the episode in which Echo, seemingly dies, only to be resurrected later on in the show, and be a very, very changed version of Echo from the one that we saw growing up on Camino and advancing into an ARC Trooper. So again, this is a great episode. That third act is just so action-packed. I mean, it's crazy bananas. The consequences, the stakes are so high. They're so real in this one. And again, the sort of the beginning of that Tarkin Anakin Skywalker relationship is very, very interesting to me, as well as getting to understand more of Tarkin's thoughts on why the Jedi are ineffective. I like a lot of that stuff. I think it's all really, really interesting. And again, this is only the middle installment. We still have a lot to get to in the third chapter, in the final chapter of the Citadel. And if you think the deaths are gonna ratchet down, they're gonna take it down a notch. No. If anything, they pick it up, and there are serious consequences, and there's some philosophical issues to get to as well, as from the military aspects of the Nexus roots to the Jedi's protectiveness of the Nexus roots. So we'll talk a lot about that more in the next installment, as we close out the Citadel trilogy, because again, we're going to see those elements that have been there since day one of the Clone Wars, the political / government sort of reasoning for doing things, and the way the Jedi are trying to do things, and how they are oftentimes in conflict with one another. And another sign that the Jedi downfall is imminent and just around the corner. All right, that's gonna do it for our review. Like I said, this one's 8 stars easy, maybe even 8.5 if I'm really feeling it, if I'm feeling a little saucy. You know what I mean? But yeah, the Citadel trilogy is awesome. We are in the midst of a great period here in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. The closing out of season 3 is just bananas crazy, and it's hard to top it. It really, really is. So we don't even try. We just embrace it. We go with it because it's delightful. All right, let's get out of here. But before we do, we have to do that thing that we need to do, which is thanking the official members, the Mando Vision Maniacs, which you can become at patreon.com/MandoVision. You can join the Maniacs and gain access to sweet bonus content, possibly even Death Star plans. We'll see what happens. It's all about the Bothans. If the Bothans can't help me out this time, we're in trouble. Thank you to our current Patreons, the Aspen Hill Chody, the Batman of Bayho, Jeff Nail. Jeff's got a music podcast. Check it out. It's called Ring in Ear. It's a great time. Thanks to Evil Circle, the evilest of all circles, the Squidmaster General Brian Broussard, the New Jersey Devil Mark Wegemer, our very own Joker and Harley Quinn, Brian and Krista of Pariah Brewing Company, here in San Diego, and coming soon to Baltimore, Maryland, the Beer Hop Brigadier General, Jesus Beer Hops, the Silent Assassin, he who should not be named, and Syndicate Ram, the co-host of the Come On It's So Good podcast, a good friend of ours. So thank you all so much for being Patreons. I hope you're digging the sweet bonus content. And there's a new bonus show coming out. I think it's going to be coming out this week. I think that's the plan. So get ready for that one. It's going to be exciting. All right. We're going to get out of here, Bucketheads. You know what that means. This podcast can only end one way. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
And I'm a big fan of your beer, too.